Congee is a savory rice porridge typically found in many different Asian cultures. And the one I'm about to make in this video is my take on it. Let me show you how to make it.
I'm going to start out with some ginger. This is about a 2-inch piece. If you don't want to use ginger, you don't have to. It's completely optional, but in congee, I love using ginger. So I'm going to use half of this first, and all I'm going to do is slice it thinly, just like this. And then I'm going to take those slices and then just cut it into little strips. So it should be nice thin strips. And then the rest of it, I'm going to cut about 4 or 5 planks of ginger, about a 1/4 inch thick, and this is what I'm going to put into my congee broth when I cook it later. Talking about congee, this is the rice I'm using. I'm using short grain, and I'm using about 1/2 cup. You can use jasmine, you can use regular white rice, whatever you have. But whatever you're using, dump it into a pot. And then to that, I'm going to go with a 8:1 ratio of liquid to rice. So I did 1/2 cup of rice, and I'm going to go ahead and put in 4 cups of broth. This is my vegetable broth. I'll put the link in the top right corner. Check it out. You can use whatever broth you have on hand, or you can use water. That's fine too, but broth will just give it more flavor. And then to this, I'm just going to go in with 2 big pinches of salt to start. I'll season it more later. And then I'm going to go in with my ginger planks. Now I'm going to bring that to a boil, give it a stir so that it doesn't stick to the bottom. And then I'm going to let it boil for about 20 minutes. Now while that's boiling, let's get the toppings done. So these are some mushrooms I'm using. This is a Forrest Namko. It's very earthy and delicious. And this is a Maitaki Mushroom, and it's just very meaty when you fry it down. It's nice and crispy. You can use any mushrooms you want, or any mushrooms you can find at all. Go ahead and use that. For the Maitaki, all I'm going to do is tear it into pieces like this. And then for the Forrest Namko, I'm going to cut off the end piece where the root would be, because it can get kind of hard right there. Once I cut that off, I'm just going to break it up into individual mushroom pieces, because I'm going to be cooking these 2 types of mushrooms differently. So here I have 1/2 a large onion, and I'm only using 1/4 of it because that's all I really need. I'm going to go ahead and finely dice this. And I'm going to be using this for when I cook my ground pork, which is going to be my other topping for my congee. Now, I didn't get to show it, but heat up a pan on medium-high heat and put in a drizzle of oil, any oil you want, high smoke point preferably, and throw in your maitake. Make sure they're in a single layer. And once you do that and get something heavy, I'm using a cast iron, and press it down real nice. This is what's going to give it that even contact with the pan to get it nice and brown. So now leave that pan there for 5 minutes. Now 5 minutes after, I'm going to check to see if it's browning on the side. And once it is, I'm going to go ahead and season it with some salt. No pepper. I just like seasoning with salt only. And then I'm going to go ahead and flip it in. Ooh, look at that nice browning. That's going to get nice and crispy and meaty. And so get them all flipped over and cook it for a few more minutes just so the other side gets brown. Once your maitake looks like this, take it out of the pan. Let's get the pan back on medium-high heat with a drizzle of high smoke point oil, and throw in your Forrest Namko. And to this, I'm going to season it with salt and pepper right off the bat. And then all I'm going to do is cook it until it gets nice and brown. I'm not really looking for these to get crispy, just nice and brown, just to develop that flavor. And now it's nice and brown. Let's take it out and return the pan once again to medium-high heat with another drizzle of the same oil you've been using. And I'm going to go ahead and throw in my finely diced onions. And all there is to do now is to get them nice and caramelized. develop that flavor before putting in the ground pork. So you see here it's starting to get slightly brown, and this is when I put in my ground pork. Now I'm going to season it with a heavy pinch of salt and a lot of cracked pepper. And then with a spatula, I'm just going to chop it up into small pieces. You don't have to go too fine with this, but I want this to be chopped up. So you have nice pieces of ground pork and not big pieces of it, of course. Once you've gotten the pork to break down like this, leave it to cook until it's brown on one side. And then once it is brown, go ahead and stir it up so nothing burns. And if you still have any big pieces, go ahead and chop it up further. But now you just cook it until it's nice and brown and slightly crispy. And once it's deliciously browned like this, go ahead and remove it from the heat. By now, my congee is finished, and I'm going to go ahead and season it up. I'm going to add in a teaspoon of my mushroom powder for that umami, some pepper, and then I'm going to season with a touch more salt. And I'm going to give that a stir through. And of course, I'm going to taste it for seasoning, but once I think it's perfect, I'm going to go ahead and move on to my soft boiled eggs. So what I'm doing here is tempering the eggs so that my cold eggs won't crack in the hot boiling water. So cook it in boiling water for 6 minutes, and once you're done, take it out and dunk it straight into cold water, and then crack them and peel them. Now let's top the congee. The first topping I'm going to do is the ground pork, and then I'm going to go on with the Maitaki Mushroom and the Namko. And then for the soft-boiled egg, I'm just going to cut that right in half and put one of them on the bowl just like this. Look how nice and custardy that yolk is. Just perfect. And then I'm going to lay down some of my ginger strips. And this is some garnish I had chopped up already. This is some scallions or green onions and some coriander or cilantro. And this is an optional step, but I have some chili oil and I'm just going to drizzle that on. But once your congee looks like this, it's time for the taste test.
And that is the bowl of congee here. The smell from this is unbelievable. You got the smell of the chili oil, the earthiness from the mushrooms, and then that meatiness from the pork. So let's give this a try because that's what's important. All right, let me try my best to get a good bite. I'm gonna get some of the porridge, some of the pork, and then a piece of this mushroom. All right, here's a good bite. Cheers. All right, let me just say something. You know something is good, and all you can do is just point at it, right? But let me try to explain this to you. When you eat this, you get the nice like vegetableness, earthiness from the vegetable broth that I used. And on top of that, that pork kind of gives it a nice crispiness, a little meatiness, and then the onions I cooked it with, it's a little sweet. And then the mushrooms also gives it another dimension of earthiness. Plus that chili oil and a little bit of that ginger just gives it a nice kick to it. It brings this whole dish up. So I highly recommend you to make this dish. And if you like this video, hit that like button. For more videos like this, hit the subscribe button or that one over there. And for my previous video, hit that one right there. And I'll catch you on the next one. Thank you. Bye.